I'm Matias Mosquera. I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina, an architect here, based in Buenos Aires, and mostly with projects here in Buenos Aires, all over Argentina. And we are now making some projects all around the world, but mainly here in Buenos Aires, in Argentina. And I live here in Buenos Aires. I'm a teacher at the University of Buenos Aires. I lived like 10 years ago, I lived in Copenhagen, in Denmark, working at 3XN office. And then I came back to Buenos Aires and I opened my own office here. Now it's called Atelier M, because of myself. And we are making a lot of projects, mainly houses. And today I have two examples of houses. One that is the one you're watching, that is called Shire. And then I'll show you another house on the city. Well, this house, I really like about the story of the houses, of the projects, and the people, the clients that come to see us. And the story of this house was post-pandemia. After lockdown, a couple of young Argentinian people came to see me, and there was a couple that live on the center of the city. Buenos Aires is a really crowded city, and they wanted to go to the middle of the farm. So they bought a piece of land like 100 kilometers from Buenos Aires, from the center, and they bought like, I think there are like 10,000 square meters, a plot with nothing on it, and it was all empty, and they asked for a house there to move and go. And what I like about the process of the design is that every new start is a empty board. So we start from scratch every project. And in this case, the first point was talking to the couple. They were psychologists here in Argentina. We are plenty of psychologists, and they only told me the square meters they wanted and the idea of getting in contact with Earth. They were really upset with all the pandemic and the COVID and the cement of the city. Here, Buenos Aires is really dense. So they wanted to go further from the city and be in contact with Earth. And that was it. So our experiment on this case, I like to call all the projects like experiments. And here comes a thing that I really like, and you ask me on the email. That is my, I'm a musician also. I'm a jazz musician, and I really like to consider myself as a musician that makes architecture. Because in jazz, it's really normal and common to join different musicians and start improvising and making music. And I think with really few information, explicit information, you can go somewhere, and I don't know how, but with a lot of information previously on ourselves, the music runs and it's really good. And I think with architecture and the thing that happens between architects and clients is mostly the same, because they came here and talked me about this need to be in contact with Earth, and that was it. They never told me about what they were expecting about the spaces or the materials or anything about that. So here at the office, I talked to my team about this, and we start designing. And our approach at the office is to be really conscious about environment issues and sustainability in a really good way and true sense. So we wanted to be really accurate with the square meters. So we here in Buenos Aires, it's really common to make like a bar on the plan where all the main spaces face the north and all the circulation and the services face the south. We are at the south hemisphere. Here it's really common on the middle of the farm to do that kind of plan. So once we made this decision, we start bending this bar. So once we bend the bar, all the spaces of the house, the main spaces, start reaching from the northeast to the northwest, all different views, and the circulation and the services start to be smaller. So we thought that was really clever because here in this piece of land that was really empty, if all the spaces of the house face the same place, it was going to be really boring. It's not the same to be at the bedroom that being at the kitchen or being at the dining room or the living room. So this idea of having different scenarios, different views, we thought it was really clever. And the idea of maximizing the circulation, even having mostly no circulation, because we bend this bar, gave us this idea of the project that another way we pull down the services and pull up all the main spaces. So suddenly we met this form that is like a circle that pretty joins the earth. So once we made all these functional ideas and develops, we get like this shape, like a circle with a circle in the center. Also, it was like the main entrance, and we gave like this shape of house, circular, with all these simple but I think really clever ideas, and with a circulation on the roof, like a panoramic view from all this big piece of land. And there's a really good phrase I like talking about architecture and the shape of the buildings, the form of the buildings, that actually what we discuss here is not about the form, it's about the information. I think the idea of talking about information gives the form to the project. So when we talk about the form, we are talking about how we face all these different places on the plot, how the program itself starts to connect with all the situations of the project, and that is what shapes the building. I'm going to go through some different pictures. Here you see like this shape pulling it back down. So you have like this patio with an entrance that is mostly like theatrical, like you have to find the entrance. It's not obviously the entrance. You go through this patio with all this natural landscape design from we work with Carolina Pell, the landscape designer that she's done a really good job there. So you go through this patio, suddenly you see that the wall unfolds and form the situation of the access, and you go through the house. When you see it from outside, you don't understand. Here in Buenos Aires, it's really flat, all the terrain. So suddenly you have like a small mountain that is really nice, with all these pampa grasses vegetation and all this situation of the patio. It's like really natural and wild. You have this idea of going through the rooftop, circulating there. And this patio is not only the entrance, it's a situation itself with another kind of space. It's like really small. You have this really big landscape plot, and suddenly you're in a small patio, but it's open, but it's closed. It's a really nice situation. There you have the wall that unfolds and gives the access to the house. And in this situation, you don't see the door of the house. You see the shape of the house unfolds and gives the access. And once you're on the inside, you are at the right. You have the circulation that is that. It's simple. You have this wall of concrete facing the south, and all the spaces at left facing north. Well, sorry. This is the main wall that have this skylight on the ceiling. Because we are here at the south, and it's the part of the house
So
that
the
is.
wall is half buried in the earth, right?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, like half of the house is on the earth. Then I will go to a section so you can see it better. Here is the wall, the door, the entrance door that unfolds and goes through the patio. Well, the kitchen is really a domestic and farmy kitchen from Buenos Aires. Here you have this situation with the Galleria that here is really common in Buenos Aires, all this circulation. Well, suddenly through the process of the design, we turned the main bathroom that was facing the south, we put it on this like a main space facing the north because they wanted to get a bath looking through the landscape. This is like looking through the east. No, you have this house that you see it like a house, really flat and normal house, but suddenly you notice that is these shapes go down through the earth, and it's all circular. And there's also a really nice idea from Matisse, the painter, that in a lot of paints he used to draw some curved path. So you always, when you are looking at the paint, you want to go further because your eyes go through the path that goes like curved in a curved way. And with this house, it happens to have the same. When you are there at the house, you always want to see what's next. I remember going through the construction, and suddenly I remember to meet the client, and we were both like going around circular, like seeing the house, and it never stops because there's no end. The house goes and goes around, and that was really funny and interesting. Here is the also in this really big plot, we develop like different parts of situations. Here is a natural pool. It's a pool, a really big swimming pool that use the water instead of put some chemical on it. It has like plants that make it clear. Well, a lot of food from this side. Here's the natural pool. Well, then the access on autumn.
And what's the weather like here in this part of the area?
Yeah, here in Buenos Aires, we have like really dense and warm summer. Like almost, I think, 35, 38 degrees.
Right.
Yeah, and January is really hot, and it's really warm the west. When the sun gets down at the sunset, it's really warm. On January, February, it's really warm. And on winter, it goes like 5 degrees. We have like really a big amplitude between winter and summer, and we have autumn and spring like really marked. We have all the four stations. They are really like different one from another. We start on summer with really warm climates. The autumn is really like static, and we have a cold winter. Sometimes it snows, but every 20 years. No, and it's really flat.
Yeah.
In summer, although it's really warm, we have a lot of wind. It gets windy from the south. So the idea of getting natural ventilations, this main entrance that faces the south, they use it a lot to open and get natural ventilation on all the house. Well, here's from the rooftop. And I want to show you a section about this house. Excuse me.
And I can only presume that burying the structure, half of the structure in the ground, helps with the cooling off of the space.
With isolation, do you mean?
Yes, with insulation, yes.
Yeah. This is the main diagram to show the house. All the part that is down is underground, all this part. And the house is not a full circle. It's only this part of here. This is how we explain the house. Actually, we have two walls here that contain all the earth that we removed from the foundations. And, well, here you can see it from above. Here is a section that I really like. You have all this part. You have two walls with all this earth and plants. Here you see the circulation is 2.5 meters. And then on the main spaces, you have 3 meters high. So the two situations between circulation and the main spaces are different. And once you get to the gallery, you have different tamises we call here to get some lights on it, mainly on winter. But this is I think it's the explanation of the space of the house. The difference between the patio on the south, on the middle we have the small circulation with a ceiling really down with the skylight here, and then the main spaces facing the good views.
And
Matias, did you mention that the
Yeah.
client was a psychologist?
Yeah, actually, both of the clients was a couple, man and woman. They were both psychologists, and there's also a funny story about that because, well, more than funny, a nice story because they were both really upset after pandemic, and they wanted to have family, and they were trying and they didn't get to have a family. So they decided to move further to the middle of the farm, get in contact with earth to shape shape a home for the future children. And actually, on the middle of the construction, she gets pregnant. So
Good for them.
once they moved, yeah, was really nice. Actually, this idea of that architecture really shapes the mind and all about people I think it's really true. And actually, once they develop and we finish all the structure, and you could see all the house on this farm. Suddenly, she get pregnant. Yeah, it was really crazy.
But I have one question, having psychologists, clients, as you mentioned, you have a couple of psychologists.
Yeah.
Did you kind of feel that there is any special details that you have to dig deep in the human emotion? It was a hard situation for them, and this house is highly personalized for them. I want to know
Yeah.
how that impacted your design in this process.
Well, it's a really good question. I'm reading this book from Thomas Herwig that is called Humanize. And it's a really good book. He developed, I think, last year. And to answer you, there's a really good part of the book that talks about emotion as a function. Here I'm in Buenos Aires at the university, and this idea of modernism and Le Corbusier and Mies van der Rohe, all these great masters talk about function design. And actually, here Thomas Helwig talks about the emotion as a function. Like the emotion that we feel living in these spaces is really important for me and really important for everyone. So I talk a lot with these clients about the motion of the spaces. This idea of not reaching to the house like any house, going through the door and that's it. Like having these like different scenarios. You reach when you reach the house, you see it from very far away. You go all around actually to get into this patio, where this patio contains you and gets you on a certain mood, like really homey mood. Suddenly, this door develops like as you can open on a different velocity. You to go to that house that is in the middle of the farm, you go usually by car, like really fast, and suddenly you go down. You get back down from your car, you get to this patio, and all that cycle is to go down on your feelings, on your emotions, and actually go inside this house. And then it opens because your walls are not parallel; they are open like this, like a pizza.
Yeah.
These ideas of connecting when you are trans, you connect all through the good views from the landscape. All is connected with emotions, what is going on and the people who lives there. So we talk a lot with the clients about the emotion and the connection between the human body and the spaces. And I talk also about this house that is not the same to be facing what you want to see. That facing from a side. No, when you see all these diagrams, you understand that in each space you are connecting with different parts, and that connection is about yourself with your mindset and your body itself and with your soul even through all these different spaces. So the connection between emotion, mind, physical body, and the space, and what is going around, I think it's really important. And in this case, actually, we talk a lot with the clients. It was really good.
And and it's really interesting since this is just a new way of like how we see the houses. Like we talked about this with different architects, that's how they manage this time of COVID years, and all of that was like very different after the COVID. Like that how they use the
Yeah,
spaces, how they gonna see through the place, and how they gonna manage the spaces so they can use it like for the whole day. And since you
yeah,
mentioned this is a like new way and new understanding of the house, especially like it's really important from a psychologist view because they've been through the whole thing. They've been through the whole
yeah.
society, not just them by themselves.
Yeah, actually, and this idea of expanding the space through the outside is another way of connecting with the outside. In architects, we talk a lot about the connection between the inside and the outside, and this idea of having two walls that expand you outside, it's really like heavy in your living there.
True.
You are like always like falling through the outside, and you're having like the outside is coming really with a lot of strong to the inside, and and I always talk to the clients, and not clients, that we are here making experiments, and somehow we are experimenting. And this experimentation was really good, and I'm really proud. It's really fulfilling to see this interaction between the space and the people who live the house. Here, that idea works really well. Yeah. So this is Shire, and I have another example of another house that have similar concepts, but it's different because it's in the city. I will show you.
If we can go back,
Yeah,
I just have a quick few more questions.
yeah,
I just want to go back to your idea about the experimentation and the emotion. Like you said, it is. I think it is also something that the master or the previous masters in architecture tried to really put into the design, having that emotional feedback in your design. So, is it something that you already knew you were going to have in your design, or did it also come like some aspect of it like a surprise, the emotional aspect of it? Because I'm curious how architects are able to generate those kind of emotion from their spaces.
Well, it's a good question because we also talk a little bit about music, no? I think somehow here comes another relation between architecture and music, that there are two different kind of languages, but they are languages, and that generates a lot of emotions. In music, you have the power to get you through different emotions, and I think with space itself and design, you can do the same. No, so I think the sensibility to understand what we are doing and with what we are talking, even if it's architecture and design or if it's music, and that is powerful, such as move some emotions on the people. I think the sensibility of that, it's really important for architects and for everyone. I talk a lot with my students in the university, with examples of music and how music shapes different emotions, so they understand when they are making architecture that concepts. When I talk about, for me, rhythm is the same as talking about structure, no? And suddenly it's easy to understand the rhythm than the structure. You cannot make a song without a rhythm, even it's a polyrhythm or it's a really complicated rhythm. It's always you have the rhythm on the music, and it's the same in architecture. You cannot have a structure. You need one. And something that I really like about my idea of design and what I'm making, what the things that I'm designing right now are like the melodic part of the design. We are designing a lot with curvy lines and with these shapes that are like really dynamics. And I think it's like a really melodic part. I always try to compare it to put into parts, like a song from a composer like a Chopin or Brahms, like really melodical, where you have a melody that goes with these dynamics and go ups and down, but really with a fluidity. If you compare that with a marching band, where you have like a rhythm, like really at the same volume, every note, you can hear everything. I think there you have like a difference between a music or architecture with melody and dynamics, and music or architecture like really structure and with no dynamics and with different types of emotion that I really don't want to develop. I already know what is going to happen with me with a marching band, and suddenly I'm leaving these spaces that we are designing with this melody, and it's another experience in your body, in your soul, and I think there's a really good interaction between them.
Yeah, and
That's
maybe just a follow-up question on that. So, is it safe to say that perhaps curvilinear curved spaces can generate more emotion compared to like really straight?
but actually softer, I think. I don't know if it's more or not, but it's softer. A marching band, actually, I think it gets you a lot of emotion.
Yes.
I think it's more like aggressive
Right.
and not like sensitive, like a curved line. But it's one opinion, I think, and also it's kind of new for me. I when I was young, I lived on a normal house, and I designed a lot of houses, and like maybe 10 years ago, I started with these curves on the buildings, and suddenly I'm like experimenting, and I am having a really good feedback from my experience and the experience of my clients and the people who work with me. And this thing that I'm talking about, this melody and this emotion, that I see it a lot on the people who go through these buildings. And it's really, really fulfilling.